In this video, we'll be looking at cinematography, also called mise-en-shot. This refers to the way a scene is shot, including the position, angle, and movement of the camera. A shot is a series of frames that run for an uninterrupted period of time. Types of shots include the extreme long shot, for example, a character against a great landscape. There's also a long shot. This is when the character's entire body is in frame. There's a medium shot. This is when you can see the character just from the waist up. A close-up. This is when you just see the character's head and shoulders. And an extreme close-up. This is a shot composed of a specific part of the body, like an eye or a mouth. As you can tell, shots are usually defined in relation to the performer or character. Then we have types of camera angles. These include the low angle. This is when the camera is looking up at a character, often signifying their power or authority or dominance. There's a medium angle. This is when the camera is eye level with the character, signifying neutrality or empathy between viewer and character. There's a high angle shot. This is when the camera is looking down on the character. Often this signifies the character's vulnerability. And another type is the Dutch angle. This is when the camera is slightly tilted, signifying imbalance. You often see these in horror films or thriller films. Then we have camera movement. Types of camera movement include panning. This is when the camera swivels on a horizontal axis, like a person moving their head from side to side. There's tilting. This is when the camera swivels on a vertical axis, like a person moving their head up or down. There's a zoom. This is when the camera lens magnifies in or out of a shot to focus the audience's attention. And finally, we have a tracking shot. This is when the camera moves with or alongside a character through a scene, often on a track that has been built by the filmmakers. You'll notice that in films from early cinema history, the camera would often remain stationary and movement of characters between a scene would be conveyed through a series of shots. However, as camera technology became more mobile, camera movements became more diverse. Film format is another element that's worth considering regarding cinematography. The format can include color film, black and white film, digital video, and how this influences the overall tone or aesthetic of the film. Now that we've defined cinematography, we'll be watching a short scene from the film The Searchers. The Searchers is an American Western film released in 1956. In this scene, Ethan Edwards returns to the home of his brother's family. When watching the scene, I want you to consider the camera work. What camera positions, movements, and angles do you notice? What might these elements signify about the story, the characters, or the mood of the film? A link to the clip can be found below in the video description. After you've watched it, please return to this video. Now that you've watched the scene, let's talk a bit about the cinematography in it. So the first thing you notice is that the camera follows a figure outside, and this leads the viewer's gaze to follow this character and look at what they're looking at. The figure is a silhouette, while the landscape is bright and red and grabs the viewer's attention. The angle initially is medium, but it's side on, and it shows that this woman is looking at something in the distance. And then we see what she's looking at, which is a figure on a horse, and it's a far shot. The features of this character are indistinct. He or she is overwhelmed by the landscape. The cinematography creates a contrast in which the family is tied to the house. They're all sort of gathered around the veranda. They're coming out of the house. This may imply domesticity, civility, whereas the figure is tied to the landscape, implying a sort of wilderness or a ruggedness. The shots are relatively still. The camera zooms in. It shows interest. It's compelled by the approaching figure. That is the subject of the scene. We're not really sure as a viewer whether to be afraid or excited. The landscape and the figure are invested with ambivalence. This speaks to a recurring theme in Western films, that the nation of America is coming into focus, being negotiated by different groups of people. What's notable as the figure arrives is this sort of depth of field. So we have the man from the house approaching from in the foreground. So that's kind of our subjectivity. We're looking through his gaze. Then we have the rider, which is the object of the interest, in the midground. And then we have the landscape, which is the setting, and this depth of field between landscape, rider, and man emphasizes a journey and a destination. The rider is shot from an angle in which the rider is higher, and he climbs down to the level of the man, and this supplies an equality and a camaraderie. There's a contrast between inside and outside that's expressed by the camera. There is the small space of the house, and then there is the enormous space of the American frontier. The camera is relatively static, a lot of medium shots. When they're inside, it includes all the members on camera. The table is the centerpiece. And when it's just the man and wife talking to Ethan, the camera is looking up slightly, emphasizing Ethan as this imposing figure, sort of larger than life and impressive. And in the final shot, he is framed directly beneath the roof beam of the house, implying a sort of sturdiness and strength. So those are a few thoughts on the cinematography in this scene. But let me know what you thought of the camera work and cinematography. If you had any thoughts, I'd be really interested to hear. Pop them in the comments. Stay tuned for the next video, in which we'll be investigating film sound.